Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Point Podcast.
Episode 26.
Yes.
I believe.
Who would have thought that you could take a game like Kill Team, a small niche specialist game, and somehow find enough content in there to stretch it out over 26 episodes?
And I feel like we haven't even really talked that much about Kill Team either.
No.
Yeah, it is Tuesday, October 27th. It's finally starting to feel like fall. It only took until the end of October. Only took until the end of October.
Yeah.
Halloween is around the corner.
Yeah, this weekend.
Spooky.
Spooky season approaches.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Halloween. I feel like it's something normal in the craziness that has been our year.
I mean, it's like not going to be normal.
It's not, but...
like, I'm putting barbed wire in front of my door to keep all the trick-or-treaters away.
Yeah.
Because we're in the middle of a plague.
Setting
I don't
up
want
trenches.
You know how kids are.
Hoisting.
They're gross.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, though. I mean, see, what I usually do on Halloween is I just watch movies, and anyway, I'm not really like... Believe it or not, I haven't trick-or-treated in some time.
Oh, really?
I've been retired from trick-or-treating for 15 years.
Yeah. Was like the last... Honestly, I think our last time trick-or-treating may have been like together. Like, we may have gone together, I think, actually.
Yeah, we were probably like 12, 11.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, guys, we go back.
Yeah.
Look at how far we've made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, though. We should talk about Kill Team.
We should. It is a Kill Team podcast.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So we're heading into the semifinals almost of TAO, the Transatlantic Open.
Yeah.
That's basically the current news outside of the pariah stuff that we talked about already.
Yeah.
I'm in the semifinals. I'm just plugging along with my Drakari.
Yeah.
Hoping I can not have to play Drakari mirror matches, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible. I don't know. We just streamed Micro and Skinner the other night.
Yeah. That was a good game.
Yeah, we're waiting on a few more matches, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to catch any of the upcoming live streams, you can go ahead and find somewhere in the description below the link over to our Discord. That's usually where we announce when we'll be streaming, just because a lot of these matches that we wind up streaming are not really last minute, but it's like within an hour is usually when we get like the definitive start time, so it's not like we can really build a lot of hype around these. Yeah. So
although we're almost at 1,000 subs on YouTube, which I think means that we could potentially stream.
We are at 790 subs. Once we're at 1,000, we'll be able to start streaming over on our YouTube channel. So that'll be great, because I know a lot of our listeners and viewers obviously watch us over on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the game between, I think it was you and Micro, went up, and it was like live premiering on our channel, we had like a decent amount of viewers.
Yeah.
That were like, oh, what's this?
They thought it was live. Yes. Unfortunately, yeah. So
just a rebroadcast.
Not going to make that mistake again.
Hey, people got into it though. So
yeah.
That tournament's going along, and we have another tournament coming up that is, I believe it's being called the Worldwide Open. Something
That's
like that.
At least the working title for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna recognize it better. It's gonna be the what was going to be the Nova packet for 2020, before Nova was obviously, unfortunately, canceled. But since it's using what is essentially the Nova packet, I believe Matt Howell actually got the skeleton of it from the people that work on the packet.
Yeah.
And he was basically able to, dot some lines and
dot some I's and cross some T's.
Yes. And what we essentially have is the Nova packet. That's not going to be what the tournament's called, but yeah. And I thought it would be interesting if we did almost like a little Kill Team history lesson this episode.
Yeah. And kind of looking back, and then also kind of looking forward, I would say. Yeah.
Because, you can look back at Nova last year, which was won by Tau. And the packet that was, it's not that different from what this year's like Nova packet was going to be and what the Worldwide Open packet is going to be. So there's actually a lot you can take away from that. And I think it's also just interesting. I mean, we talk about competitive kill team and we look at tournaments, and there's a lot of tournaments like dating back to last year or 2 years ago that I think it's interesting to look back on them and figure out what the meta was and what that tournament had and like how that tournament impacted the meta. Because Nova, I feel like every year with Nova, well, there's only been 2 Novas for kill team, but it's like the winning list at Nova is like such a meta changer. And I think if you go back and look at it, like it shows. So I mean, do we want to get into it? Do you have any other thoughts before I
No, I think we can just like start in the beginning. Basically back to the first Nova kill team.
Yeah, and this was one of the first, if not the first, kill team tournament. It might have been. This was like the birth of like competitive kill team, really.
Yeah.
So those of you that have been playing this game for a long time, or have been listening to like Beer in It or like Glass Half Dead since this game came out, you're going to recognize some of the things we're talking about, and I think it's interesting to see the developments, at least in like a narrative, and presented in like a narrative fashion. So going into 2018 Nova, it was the strong thing, the meta thing was Death Guard.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's weird to say that.
Yeah.
Like looking back now,
everyone feared the Death Guard at the 100 points meta.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Plague Marines. This is before Elites came out, too.
Yeah.
So it was Plague Marines, and it was a ton of Poxwalkers, and that was basically what dominated, like, smaller tourneys at the time. And people just did not know how to handle it because they had the bodies of these Poxwalkers, and they had these Toughness 5 Plague Marines that are, like, super hard to kill. They can take really strong weapons. This is back when the Flail was accidentally 2 damage, I believe.
Yeah. It was like pre-FAQ, I think.
Yeah, it was. I think. But if not, it was right after the FAQ.
Yeah.
So they might not have even incorporated those changes yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Death Guard was the scary thing, and you can look at like the top 8 of this tournament, and there was 3 Death Guard. I mean, like that's like we look at the top 8 of TAO, there's 3 Drakari. We look at the top 8 of LVO this year, there was 3 Austriani. It's like that's like the gatekeeper. That's like the really strong team. And like you had players like George Rollins from Warp Charge Gaming placed second at this tournament with Death Guard, which is, I mean, it was just the boogeyman. And you can actually go back to George's channel and you can find, he live streamed a lot of his games from Nova that year when he was playing Death Guard. And I believe the year after that he played Demons. So
I think so, yeah.
If you look up Warp Charge Gaming's YouTube channel and you look up Nova Kill Team, look for the games where he's playing Death Guard because those were Nova 2018. That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. I'll probably go in and find those videos and put links to them in the description.
Yeah. Those, I mean, there weren't like the other games at Nova they weren't streamed. So to my knowledge, if they're out there and anybody knows, then
please send them to us. I would love to watch those.
But so like that means that like George's games are like the only source of footage that I've seen from Nova 2018. Which the good thing about that is George was pretty much top table for a lot of this tournament. He ended up placing second. And anyway, it was Death Guard dominating. But, and here's where the interesting like developments in the meta come in. This is like the kind of the birth of Plasma Spam. Right. Because the winner of this tournament was Elliot Miller with his Plasma Spam Astra Militarum. And I mean, I think after Nova, like that was what people started to be afraid of was Plasma Spam.
Yeah, because it's like, at the time, it's like, how do you counter that many plasma guns?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at it, I mean, it makes sense that Plasma Spam was so successful. You look at 3 Death Guard in the top 8.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the Poxwalkers that people are struggling to kill. It was the Marines.
Yeah, once you kill the Marines, then it's kind of, you just kill a few more Poxwalkers and then the morale shatters.
Yeah, I mean, you're wounding the Death Guard on 3s. You're forcing them to 6-up armor saves. It's multi-damage so that their feel no pain isn't quite as impactful. And, yeah, I mean, Plasma Spam is what dominated that tournament inevitably, even though I mean the gatekeeper was Deathguard. And obviously, I mean, I guess most of you listening probably already know this, but we're looking at like the hold 1, hold 2, hold more with like the random arena secondaries, basically. So Poxwalker spam, plasma spam. There's a lot of bodies on both of these sides. It's not a shock that this is what we're looking at. There was also, in third place of this tournament, this was like Matt Howell's first ever appearance at a tournament, first time playing competitively for Kill Team. And he brought Heretic Astartes, and this is like the infamous like 19 cultists.
Yes,
like,
that's right.
Space Marine gunner, basically.
Yeah.
And you can see the trend here.
Yeah.
This is like the like Jurassic era. So old of Kill Team meta. But this was like the scary stuff at the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's weird looking at what's big now and how like drastically different. Like there's no elves on this.
No Ashiani, no Drakari, no Harlequins.
Yeah. There was one Drakari actually, and he was last place at Nova 2018.
That is a shame.
But yeah, I mean, this was what Kill Team was initially. This is what competitive Kill Team was, and this was like how it started. Yeah. It's interesting to look at that, in my opinion. It's basically going into it, Death Guard, scary. Coming out of it, plasma spam.
Death Guard, who cares? Not scary at all anymore.
And it really is like Death Guard took like a massive hit, like in their like reputation as a faction post Nova. I feel they weren't, because people really thought they were strong when this game came out, and like to be fair, they were, but
they literally had like a broken weapon.
Well, yeah.
When the game launched.
But it's just like interesting that there's always something like this is how metas form, right? It's like there's the scary thing and everybody's scared of it until somebody figures out how to beat it.
Yeah.
And that was what Elliot did. He plasma spam just crushed Death Guard. Fast forward a year to 2019, and this Nova 2019, the last Nova that actually happened, a lot more players at this one, and a much bigger representation of what the meta was. And this was pre-LVO 2020, where it was all Asuryani. Yeah. But at this stage, like on the West Coast, Michael T. Hilly was already kind of starting to dominate, like BAO, SoCal, stuff like that. And the scary thing going into Nova 2019 was Tyranids.
Yeah.
You can ask like a lot of these players what they were afraid of, what they wanted to beat, and the answer a lot of the time is going to be Tyranids. Mm-hmm. You had Necron Chuck at this tournament who placed third with Tyranids. He played Tyranids because instead of his Necrons, because he felt like it gave him the best chance to win. So he basically went with like the most meta dominant list. But Nova 2019 really like opened the door for a lot of other things that I think is really interesting. Things that people weren't really looking at that much, because this was post elites.
Yeah, right.
So we had like Will Blood plays top 4 with his Heretic Astartes and like the Khorne Berserkers that came with elites. And I mean, it's not a surprise that Khorne Berserker, like heavy a Heretic list, would do really well against like the Gaunt spam Tyranids. Yeah. Like you're just going to mow those guys down.
Yeah.
But I think the real big scary coming out of this was Tau.
Yeah, for sure.
This was like where the hatred really like
reached its high watermark for the hatred of Tau.
Yeah. I mean, it was, from what I've been told, and I haven't seen any like recordings of Nova 2019 outside of like George Rollins games there with his demons, but from what I've heard, the player Eric, I don't want to butcher his last name, Eric Van Emerangen. I'm sure somebody can help me out with this at some point after we upload this, but
that sounds about right. The way I'm reading it.
From the sound of it, he really dominated.
Yeah.
With Tau like this, it was not close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was drones, it was Pathfinders.
Of course, yeah.
With rail rifles.
This was where that whole Tau archetype started.
Yeah. It was, I mean, it really kind of like spelled it. And another thing that was really interesting was this was one of the first times, if not the first time, we saw like a really successful orc performance in a big tournament. And that was Alex Torbert, Kill Team Academy, with his Evil Sons. And it was just boy spam. And I know you can watch, again, going back to George Warp Charge Gaming, his channel, he has a game playing against Alex's Orcs, his Evil Son Orcs, on his YouTube channel. And you can just see like that, like the just the wave of Orc boys, and how like effective it was when it first came out with Evil Sons. And this was before the Choppa nerf too.
That's right, because this was before the annual.
Yeah. So Orc boys with Choppas were 6 points, I believe, instead of 7. And they were super fast. They could take so many bodies. I think it was usually like one knob or something, and just a ton of boys, and maybe like the Grot leader. Yeah, that was effective. And I think it was like, I mean, I don't know how close it came to beating Tau, but Tau, like, this was like a big moment for like the meta, I think. Because we've talked about it before, like LVO, a few months later, everybody was afraid of Tau. Tau was like the boogeyman. Yeah. And nobody ended up bringing it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that had to do with like the negativity towards that faction.
Nobody wanted to be that guy, maybe, or people were just sick of him or didn't want to invest in the team or whatever it was.
Yeah. They, I mean, like after Nova, like you started playing Tau.
Yeah.
And we were playing it, and I was just like, I hated playing against that faction. I was like, how do you beat this?
Yeah. In the Nova format, with the way the board is, with the way the board is set, the way secondaries, and just that whole format, it catered to that style of team very well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Eric's credit, it a lot of Nova also was meant to be played half arena, so he did have to play games on arena last year, and he still won. So yeah. And I can imagine that the Orcs and the Tyranids that were there really enjoyed the arena half of this tournament.
Yeah.
And they probably hit like the brick wall that was Tau once they met them on that open board.
Yeah.
And I think that looking at this, like these teams, I think you could take these lists, like these top 4 lists, rosters, I guess, and bring them to like this year's, to the Worldwide Open, and still be effective.
Yeah.
Like, and not that much has actually changed with the packet, and it's all just like community meta shifting.
Yeah.
Because people aren't really playing like Evil Sons Orc Boys. I mean, I guess it just won.
It just won Freak Wars, yeah.
So it's still very much alive, but you don't see it as much as you did then. I think like after Alex did it. And Tau, they're still good, but I don't think they've reached that height. I guess looking back a year later, that was like the peak for Tau that we've seen.
That definitely was, yeah.
And am I wrong? At the time, it felt like, oh, this is just going to be it from now on. It's just going to be Tau.
No, it definitely did. That's why I have the Tau Pathfinder Railgunner gun drone shield spam or gun drone spam sitting on the shelf over there.
It really felt like, this is just how every tournament's going to be, and then nobody brought them to LVO.
Yep.
And
we're just like, wait, what? Huh? What?
Yeah. And then stuff like Tyranids now, like you're not seeing the Tyranid Gaunt spam nearly as much. I mean, I think we saw some people kind of bringing it here to like TAO, but again, it's not the exact same format. They're not quite as good in TAO as they would be in Nova. So, I mean, I don't think that there's been enough to where you can look at the current Nova pack and say, okay, yeah, Tyranids have been figured out like Gaunt spam. That's we got to the bottom of that one.
Yeah.
It's not like Death Guard where it was kind of figured out how to beat that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tau obviously do really well against Tyranids. It's just a lot of firepower, just volume of shots.
Yeah.
Like you don't like the gun drones are going to do great against that.
Yeah.
And the shield drones, I mean, Gaunts are never going to kill that. Even like a Tyranid warrior might struggle to kill a shield drone.
Yeah.
Like the T4, the infinite saves.
Yeah, you can just send them out there and shut it down.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Heretic Astartes, I going back to like 2018, I definitely don't think the 19 cultists one Marine is something that could work anymore.
I don't think so either.
Even back then, I think you could probably attribute that more to Matt as a player rather than the team itself, because there was better hordes around pre-elites, like the Tyranids and Tau. I mean, Tau are still there with their drones. Yeah, though. So, like, I guess, would you anticipate anything really changing from last year? Like what? I don't know. Like, what have you seen over the last year? Like, with us messing around with like the kill formats and stuff. That anything you think would carry over, like returning to the Nova format?
I mean, I could definitely see Tau drone spam coming back. It feels like it never really
left.
Yeah. Just people were just like tinkering with it as tournaments were going on.
You're seeing more stealth suits.
I mean,
the occasional
Tyranid
crisis
is out here with freaking crisis suits. It's people are still tinkering with the Tau. So I would expect to see Tau at the Worldwide Open. Tyranids, they got to come back, right? Because Sean said that he was going to play in our next one, right? Didn't he?
He did. He did.
And
tell
if
us
anybody
that.
can run Tyranids, it's him. I mean, he got to what was it? He got to like the quarterfinals or the semifinals.
Quarterfinals
of Bats.
Top 8 of BAO with Tyranids is a feat.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, a faction that I think was like legitimately like low tier in that format.
Yeah. A sleeper faction, perhaps.
Ooh, teaser for 20 minutes from now or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Orcs would come back in the same way, or do you think that because there's been a lot of tinkering with Orcs?
There's been so much going on with Orcs. You can do so much with that team. They can still bring like a pretty sizable amount of bodies.
At 100, even with the chop and nerf.
Yeah. Specifically, I was thinking with the flash kits, right? Like that freebooters.
Well, the thing about it is, remember, there's 100 points.
Yeah,
it's tough to do the freebooters.
Yeah, it's tough to do freebooters, but you can bring one flash kit.
Yes,
and that's good shooting.
Oh yeah,
that is good quality shooting right there on a board like what we've seen at Nova in years past. It'll do work. It will kill models, or at the very least bring them to an injury roll. Yeah, so I think there could be like it's another tournament. It's a year from the last one, so there's gonna be some different things, and there's gonna be some new stuff or some old stuff coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like even at this tournament, that looking at Nova 2019, there was not a huge Asur Yanni presence. I mean, there was Janice, who was top 8, of course. But, I mean, beyond that, you look down, I mean, you got to really scroll down to find Drakari, and I think Drakari is something that's really gotten a lot more attention since last year's Nova. I mean, we had Alec Berryman at LVO.
Yeah, I think Asur Yanni and Drakari will for sure show up to Nova in force.
Yeah, I would anticipate the same thing.
I mean, we played that practice game.
Yeah,
right.
We did play that game.
And it wasn't like a complete blowout. That game was close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels like Drakari are the unstoppable force right now, as far as like just like meta shifting. Although, I mean, I think Drakari are the unstoppable force right now, as far as like just like meta shifting. Although, I mean, I feel like Drakari are the unstoppable force right now, as far as like just like meta shifting. Although, I mean, I feel like Drakari are the unstoppable force right now, as far as like just like meta shifting. Although,
Like you mean just at like the 100 points level?
Yeah, I think at 100 points, and I think in like a... Granted, I think they like kill 1 as a primary.
Oh, yeah. Just because they have some lethal models, so it's like, yeah, I want to run those, and chances are very high I'll get a kill this turn.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. Elves are very good.
They are
2 of the best factions right there. I guess there's like Harlequins are also elves, but they're like the weird cousin.
Yeah, they definitely are the weird cousin. Yeah.
Can't imagine we're going to see any Harlequin dominance at Nova. Doesn't seem like their format.
No, they just don't have the flexibility, I don't think.
Yeah, they're very one note.
I don't know. If you're a Harlequin player or you want to prove us wrong, go for it, man. I would love to see Harlequins take Nova. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Jesus, I'd pay for that.
I can't see it happening.
No. Yeah. So I guess that was the history lesson.
The history of Nova.
Yeah, the short history of Kill Team Nova. And then the Worldwide Open is kind of going to be in that same... it's going to be carrying on that legacy because we're not having a Nova this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess moving on, we had another segment that we wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something interesting to, I guess, reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the idea of sleeper factions in certain formats.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than saying just like a blanket, well, I think this team is a sleeper, and then just giving no context as to how they're a sleeper.
Yeah.
Because teams, it's not like a lot of other games where you have like this team's good, this team's bad. It's like we're looking at so many different packets and so many different formats that like power levels kind of shift depending on where you're playing.
Yeah.
And what you're playing on. So what we're basically going to do right now is we're going to go back and forth giving examples of teams that we think are kind of like sleeper good in certain formats, and I guess explain what format and why we think they're sleepers.
Yeah.
So I guess we're looking for factions that are underrepresented relative to how good we think they are.
Right.
So do you want to start? Should I start? I mean, it's...
I'll start because I've got one that I've been wanting to talk about since I looked at it.
Okay.
So this is for basically the TIO format. So
okay. Topical.
So the Ibericon packet, the Astra Militarum, not Catachans, Valhallans.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, they've made it just as far as Micro's Catachans have.
Is that what
that was the other? Yeah, so it wasn't Talarn, it was Valhallans.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting because they were kind of like our number 3 subfaction when we did our sort of Astra Militarum deep dive. I'll link to that below in the description somewhere.
Somewhere,
anywhere you'll find it. But yeah, no, so their bonus to nerve tests is, I mean, it's obviously great if you're not running models like Gottfried.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Valhallan is it's a sub-faction where for Astra Militarum, instead of rolling D6 on nerve tests, all of your Valhallan models roll D3 instead, which makes it a lot harder to fail a nerve test if the highest you can roll is a 3. And if a third of the results now are an auto pass instead of just 1. No, I mean, it's something that I've thought about myself. It's interesting to see that somebody's having some success with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of games, and I've played a lot of games on this format at 100 points especially, where it feels like a team can break and then it's just game over.
Yes. Yeah.
And morale will play such a huge role when it feels like almost, I don't want to say unwarranted, but I mean, we've all seen games where it's really close and then just one team happens to fail a break test and then everybody shakes and it's just like, oh, this is no longer a close game.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, continue though. You were talking about it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I was looking at the overall command roster for that team, and it also has Gottfried, Ryan, and Rouse Pious Vorn is also on there. So, I mean, it's kind of like those models are on there, and it's just like this team just doesn't shake, I guess, is what it comes down to.
I mean, with Gottfried, too.
Yeah, right.
It's leadership 8, so the break tests are a lot harder to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, so that Astra Militarum overall, not a sleeper in this format, but I did not expect Valhallan Astra Militarum to make it as far as it has done so.
Yeah, and I feel like in general, at 100 points, the break tests and morale play so much bigger of a role than it does at 125. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like that's been my experiences and what I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, my game with Sheldon came down to essentially break tests.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's how Freak Wars ended.
Yeah, was with a break test. So
both double break
at
tests.
100 points, I think it's just morale plays a lot bigger role in games that kill team.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot more chaff.
Yeah.
You can't afford the bigger units, so you put a lot of smaller guys in there, and when you have a lot of smaller guys, that becomes a risk.
Yeah,
I guess.
So what's your sleeper?
I have one. I want to take it back a little bit to the BAO format that was Bats was played on this, and a faction that I feel was not up there, but I think they easily could have been, and that's Sisters of Battle.
Ooh,
Adepta
okay.
Sororitas. If we did
yes, of course.
If we did a tier list,
of course.
Yeah, if we did a tier list, I think I would have had them like high B, like maybe even low A. And it's a faction that I don't think they've really been, like, the community as a whole does not seem to have figured out Sisters of Battle yet. There's even like some people think they aren't good.
I'm not sure if it's that they haven't been figured out yet. I think it's more just nobody has taken up the reins for that faction.
Yeah. I mean, this is true. There aren't any. There's no. I mean, you have people who main Heretic Astartes, people who main Orcs, and I mean, you got demon mains, but there's nobody that's taken Sisters and like really made it their own, like you said.
Yeah.
But I mean, for starters, you need to look at what's good on BAO, and that's melee, durability, and just killing power, like those three things. And I think that Sisters of Battle, first and foremost, should be looked at as a melee faction.
Yes.
Arcoflagellants are like the bread and butter of that team, and they're just so effective. They're so they just dish out so much damage.
Yep.
They are obviously a bit survivable, but they aren't in the tier of like Adeptus Astartes or Necrons, but there's a lot of wounds on like a 9-man sister list.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at,
I guess, a 9-model sister list, if we're getting
9
technical
woman
here.
Well, yeah, 9 model, because half of them are
Arcoflagellants, exactly. And, I mean, they can also take Gottfried.
Yeah, and
right?
Pious.
And Pious.
Well, Pious is a female, I guess, so.
Yes.
Pious is a lady.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're taking like 4 to 5 Arcos, which is 2 wounds each. You're taking Gottfried, which is 3 wounds. You might be taking Pious, which is 2 wounds.
Yeah.
And then you've got, you have the option to take a few gunners, or a couple gunners, rather. And you might have a Repentia, although I'm not a huge fan of the Repentia, because it goes down too easily.
Yeah.
But even like just looking at the Flagellants, they don't have an armor save. They just have the 5-up Feel No Pain. But 2 wounds and a 5-up Feel No Pain is good.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the capability to like lock up models, especially with Gottfried. Any faction that could take Gottfried is like creates like such a presence on the board with that model.
A threatening aura.
Yes. Like seriously, with Gottfried on that map, you can on either of those maps, you could take Domination and just plop them right in the middle.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Granted, it's not Catachan Strength 4 Gottfried,
but it doesn't matter because he's just standing there eating your shots.
Yeah, and
that's his job.
5 attacks with a Power Sword is still scary. Strength 3 or Strength 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, though, I mean, I thought about running them early on in like my prep for BIO,
right?
And I thought they were pretty good. I just ended up shifting over to Astartes in the end.
Yep.
But sisters are good. I think they struggle at 100 points, though. That's why we haven't really been seeing any success with them. And they like kill one, kill more as well. Because you can't really spam. There's not like a horde option.
Yeah, it's like a semi-horde.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like 9 to 10 bodies.
Yeah,
really, like
yeah,
max.
that's like a semi-horde.
Yeah. But yeah, I consider them a sleeper in that format. So I guess moving on.
Yeah. Are we going to be doing like kind of predicting sleepers for upcoming tournaments? Do we want to do that?
Happily, we can
All right.
do that.
LVO 2021.
Okay.
Space Wolves.
Really? Space Wolves.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're going with this, but I'd like to hear more.
Okay. So there are a few secondaries in there that Astartes can really, like, just combat armies in general, honestly. They have the secondary where it's like the leader gets points for like just like existing and doing things, right?
Yeah, getting a kill. Using lead by example.
Yeah. And then there's another secondary where it's like if you do 2 damage or more, or 2 or more damage in a single injury roll and you kill the model, you score points for that. I think Bounty Hunters is also in there.
Always, yeah.
Right? So this is a packet that is going to be close confines, despite the fact that the board, it's an open board, just because of the way the terrain is set up. And you're getting 3 CP every turn. All right?
Okay.
So stick with me here. Space Wolves, what's their ability? They get +1 to their hit rolls if they charge or they are charged, right?
Yes.
Strap either a Thunder Hammer or a Power Fist onto a Space Wolf Terminator, make him your leader, and just
give him the storm
go
shield.
to town. Give him the storm shield.
Don't forget that.
Give him the storm shield and just let him go.
Yeah.
You can use with that freaking 3 CP that you're getting every turn. Are you kidding me? You're just gonna shove all those wounds off onto just like a bunch of other like chaff marines, probably like intercessors or assault intercessors incoming.
Possibly,
hello. Yeah. Just put them out. Just use Battle Brothers to put the wounds onto those guys instead. You can also readily afford Death Deny with 3 CP for a single model every turn, so that's going to be a non-issue. And you're just going to be stuck in there, beating everything to death with either a Power Fist or a Thunder Hammer, and you'll be hitting on 3s because you're Space Wolves.
Yep.
So it's like, whoa! Yeah. I was just thinking about this today, and I regret selling those Space Wolf Terminators, Shane.
You shouldn't have done it.
I shouldn't have done it.
I think they're really good there too. You're not getting the reroll charges from Black Templars, but if you take like Domination, for example, the middle of that board is so important on LVO.
Mm-hmm.
You can just throw the Terminator in the middle, and he's going to be there, and he's scoring you points, and they're going to have to do something about it.
Yeah.
Like, give him Survivor, too. So he's standing...
yes, that's right.
That's
that was
another
the other one.
Give him Survivor, plop him in the middle for Domination. He's netting you points for being alive, so they have to come do something about him.
Yes.
He's scoring you Domination, and if anybody's trying to stop Domination, then they're running in and getting killed by him.
Because he'll just nuke them.
And then he's scoring lead from the front, or lead by example, sorry. Or, lead from the front.
Lead from the front, I think is called, yeah.
Lead by example is the tactic. No, I like it. I think it is a very... It's so strong.
Yeah.
So...
I don't think I'll be able to run it just because I don't have the heart to rebuy a Space Wolf Terminator for LVO, but...
understandable.
Yeah. Whoever does, put me in the credits. All right? You heard it here first.
I have another sleeper.
Okay.
And it's hard to pinpoint a certain format where I think this is a sleeper, because I know I said I wasn't going to generalize, but I think this is just a sleeper just across the whole game in general, rather than a sleeper in a certain format.
Okay.
I've tried them on LVO and I like them. I've tried them on Nova and I like them. I've tried them on TAO and I like them. And that is the Gellerpox infected.
Ooh.
So you can look at the kind of fringe factions in Kill Team, and that's, of course, the Starstriders, the Servants of the Abyss, and Gellerpox and Kroot.
Yes, the Kroot.
Those are like the 4 outsiders that nobody really ever plays. And they are oftentimes dismissed as being like bad or low tier. And this is probably because Gellerpox is being lumped in with these 3 other factions, Servants, Kroot, and Starstriders, who are genuinely low tier.
Yeah.
Gellerpox, on the other hand, are not low tier at all. They are legitimately good. I've been messing around with this faction at 100 points, at 125. They have so many unique things that they bring to the table. And I think that's what like separates a faction from being like usable in like a competitive format, like legitimately. Like you can look at Kroot, and yeah, their data sheets suck. Yeah, they're weak, but it's not just that. It's that there's nothing that they do.
They don't bring anything new or unique.
Yeah, even if their data sheets were a little bit stronger, they're not separating themselves in any way.
Yeah.
There's nothing that... It's really easy to counter it. Like, Necrons bring reanimation protocols to the table, which is like a different level of survivability. Astartes bring like Death Denied to the table and just like crazy flexibility. But Gellerpox, they have so many things that it's hard to deal with. And a lot of people don't even know what the models do, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's not a faction that people run into a lot.
Yeah.
And I think people that do know a little bit about them just assume that it's just like a basic horde, which it can be, but it can be an elite team too. I mean, there's the Hulks, of which you can bring 2, and then 1 like Nasher Screamer, which is like the leader Hulk, Nightmare Hulk. And then there's this like assortment of different chaff units that are each capped at 4 max. And it's not like Starstriders where the models are capped at a max so that you can just make a single 100-point list. Gellerpox, even with like the caps on like the max amount of units you can take for each like data sheet, there's so many different, like it's way more than 100 points or 125 points. Like you can build it a lot of different ways. Like just bringing all 3 Hulks is like almost like 94, 95 points.
Yeah.
And that's not something that really anybody does. Maybe at like 125 you could do something crazy like that. But it's a team that has like high mobility with like the eye stinger swarms.
Yeah. Like what's their movement? Obviously
10
they
inch
can fly.
10-inch fly.
With fly. Okay, yeah.
And they don't have a ranged weapon, so you're usually advancing them. So just 10 plus D6 is just crazy. And they can consolidate and pile in up to 6 inches like a gaunt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like each one of these models has like a unique thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the Nightmare Hulks, they're big and slow, like they're 4-inch movement, but they've got 4 wounds. They're toughness 5 with a 5-up feel no pain and a 6-up armor save, regular armor save, no invuln. But that's so hard to kill to the point where like it's like you're ever playing with like a lictor, like against like a Tyranid player who has like a lictor,
yes,
and you're just like, man, I don't even want to attack that thing because it just feels like a waste.
Yes,
it's like that, except even more durable because it's T5 and there's a feel no pain.
Yeah.
And these models have like an AP2 2-damage weapon with like 4 attacks each. Well, 3 attacks on the Hulks. You can make them combat and zealot, and then the Nasher has 4 attacks. The Eye Stingers, they've got the 10-inch movement we were just talking about. They have the Mandrake always -1 to hit.
Always -1, yeah.
This is a 5-point model. They get D3 attacks, and on a 6, they automatically wound. Like their weakness is that they're strength 2, toughness 2. But if they're auto wounding, ignore the strength 2.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting a wound through.
Yeah.
The Glitchlings, this is another model that they can, like another chaff model they can take that are just crazy. It's a 5-point model with a 5-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain. Holy crap. Still, again, toughness 2, but those saves are no joke. And they only get the 5-up feel no pain against damage 1. But that's most things in the game.
Yeah.
And if your opponent is putting multi-damage attacks into Glitchlings, they're already...
They're not putting it into things like the Hulks.
Yes. And in addition to that, if you're targeting a Glitchling with a ranged weapon, it's always -1 to hit. Like, the things are like never ending with this faction. And then you got the Curse Smites, which are re-rolling charges with 8-inch movement. You've got the Sludge Grubs, which when you kill a Sludge Grub in melee combat, the Sludge Grub rolls a d6 and it can do a mortal wound on a 6. So there's like the random mortal wound potential.
I think this faction has like the most jank in it.
Yeah, but it's crazy. And then my favorite model that they can take is the Gellerpox Mutant, which is like, it's akin to like the Plague Bearer, like Zangor type archetype of model. It's an 8-point model with Strength 4, Toughness 4. It's got 2 attacks at AP 1, Weapon Skill 4. And it's got a 5-up Invuln, 5-up Feel No Pain again. But a special rule with these guys is every time they make an armor save of a 6, when they're rolling for their Invuln, the attacker takes a mortal wound after they're done resolving their attacks. So it's like looking at that alone, it's like to beat a model with an Invuln and a Feel No Pain, your like instinct is to go for like volume of attacks.
Right.
But if you're putting a lot of attacks in, they're getting to make more armor saves and they're giving you more mortal wound potential.
Yeah.
And like, geez, it's craziness. On top of the Hulks, and there's so many different ways you can build a team of these guys. And there's actually a precedent for like competitive success.
Yeah.
With Gellerpox, like way back when at like LVO, like the first LVO, there was a guy that took them, Chris Bergman or something. They just called him Gellerpox Chris. I've never talked to him, but it's a thing. They're good, man. Yeah. They are so good, and I think they do well, and they do great in Nova. I think they do great in LVO. They've got some really crazy tactics. Yeah. Like, holy crap.
At the risk of turning this into a Gellerpox-infected deep dive, I think we're going to stop you there before we start talking about their tactics.
I get so excited with this faction right now. Yeah, that's a sleeper.
All right.
Any faction, or any format. You can go ahead and move on to yours.
Okay. I think for Nova 2021, honestly, I think with all this talk about Orcs, or I guess not Nova 2021, the World Wide Open, with all the talk about Tau and Orcs and factions like that coming back, kind of like the traditional hordes, I think that demons are kind of like sliding under most people's radar.
Mm-hmm. I tend to agree. And it's so obviously, so in big 40K, you've got, demons like Unaligned, you've got Khorne demons, Nurgle demons. It's almost like its own faction.
Right.
But for Kill Team, it's just demons. And what I would think of when I think of Khorne demons is like a lot of Bloodletters and like a few Pink Horrors.
Yeah.
For Nurgle demons, it's like a lot of Plague Bearers and a few Pink Horrors. Slaanesh Demonettes, a few Pink Horrors. And then for Tzeentch, it would just be Pink Horror spam.
Yes.
So what are you thinking of when you say...
For Nova, I'm thinking Pink Horror spam.
Just pure Pink Horrors?
Yeah, I think so, because they pop when they die, and they're just... So you're looking at like... Oh gosh, I don't even know how many like blues and brimstones and pinks would just be all over objectives, Yeah.
So you're looking at 8 bodies if you bring only Pink Horrors at 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
Although really those 8 bodies are... let me do some quick math.
Quick maths.
It's like 40 bodies.
Yes, yeah.
Which is unprecedented in Kill Team. The problem, obviously, is you only need to kill 5 of them to force a break test. So I was kind of thinking they're a sleeper too, but I was thinking more like the Nurgle route.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm thinking like 3 Pink Horrors and like a blob of Plague Bearers.
Yeah.
The idea being like, if it's at 100 points, you can only take like up to 13 bodies usually. Like unless you're dropping like below 3 Pink Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that situation, it's easier for you to break because obviously the leadership 7 presents a problem. So that rules out Bloodletters for me.
Oh yeah,
they die
definitely.
too easy. And you're talking about Nova, and it's like, what are you getting points for in Nova?
Holding points.
Yeah. How many points are you getting for kills, unless not counting secondaries?
You're getting zero. You're getting 0 points for killing things.
So all that says to me, Bloodletters are not the way.
Yeah.
And you should go Plague Bearers. Because Plague Bearers survive.
They do.
That is what they do. That's probably the most durable, well, other than a shield drone, the most durable 7-point model that you can get, which is just so gross to me.
Yeah. They got to update those points, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, just being able to, like, finesse your movement around with pink horrors, and because it's the key is the horrors and the way that you use those models, in my opinion. Because if your horrors are just, like, permanently tying up models, then they're not breaking you. And then in addition to that, the strong teams on Nova are, like, funny enough, not that strong. They're not that killy.
No.
They're good at holding.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough for a strong model to kill a Plague Bearer sometimes, let alone like a Gaunt.
Yeah.
Never going to kill a Plague Bearer.
No.
In fact, a Plague Bearer might even kill a Gaunt. So.
Yeah, man.
No, I definitely see the case for like Nurgle demons, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
On
with some pinks mixed in there.
Yeah, there's just always going to be pinks.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Nurgle is the way to go in my eyes. I guess other sleepers. It's weird to call them a sleeper, but looking back at, and we've talked about this in the past, LVO, last year's LVO. Well, I guess this year's LVO 2020 that already, Michael Tioli won.
Yes.
I think Tau was a sleeper in that format. But weirdly enough, because everybody hyped up Tau, and then nobody ended up bringing them, and then people said, oh, of course nobody brought them. They were weak because they introduced Kill More. And then there's the infinitely high things. All this means Tau isn't good. No. No. Tau is perfectly fine in that format. I mean, that board is so open.
Yeah.
It's Tau. If the problem is that nobody brought Tau to LVO.
Yeah.
I think if you had like Eric from Nova at LVO with his Tau, he probably would have made top 8.
Yeah.
In all likelihood. I would have bet on that. And it's just so weird that they were at the top of the meta and then suddenly
they just disappeared.
Yeah. And
it's like it's like the opposite of Avatar: The Last Airbender. When the world hated them the most, they disappeared instead of when they needed them the most.
Yeah, they were definitely not needed.
No.
I don't know if they would have been like the level of dominant that they were at Nova. I would say no, but they were definitely still very good.
Yeah.
In the perception, I remember reading on like the different Discords and the Facebook groups talking about Tau in regards to LVO, and you would have thought they were suddenly low tier or something.
Yeah.
Just because of the infinitely high crates and the Kill More edition, but those aren't really things that Tau cared that much about. Yeah,
you can just fly around them.
Yeah, I mean they still have so much movement.
Yeah.
And those railguns, man, they can just cover the whole board.
Yeah,
it feels like.
Yeah, seriously, you can play turret defense with those guys.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that would be a pick for me. I don't have that much to say on it, but I thought it was like a worthy contender for like a sleeper in a format. And I think when we did the Invitational, which was LVO, we had a guy place top 8 with Tau at that tournament.
Yeah, we did.
So it's perfectly doable.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you have any others?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think I hit all the ones that I really wanted to talk about. Yeah. I went on a big old Gellerpox tangent. Maybe another day we'll wrap that one up.
Yeah.
Seriously, play Gellerpox.
Underrated.
Just pull up Battlescribe and just look at those data sheets.
Just look at it. Yeah.
Just give it a nice gander.
Yeah.
Strong. And then with those LVO sub-factions, you can give them all extra AP1.
Woo!
Yeah. So you got that strength 2 little fly auto wounding you on a 6. hit roll, and then just AP1, bam.
Just on top. Yeah. Just a little extra on top.
Yeah.
Little extra seasoning on that dirty boy.
Yeah. All right. Well, was there something else we wanted to talk about? Was there any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy out?
Nah, not really.
Wrapping up episode 26.
Yeah.
Of Command Point.
Oh, we are coming up on a year, I think. This'll, unless we want to do something special for our 1 year, because the first, I don't know, that's kind of cutting it close. It's the 27th. Because our first podcast episode went live last year on November 4th.
Oh.
So we are approaching 1 year. Yeah, so I don't know if we want to do something special for that or what. But
yeah, the 1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary,
of Command
yeah.
Point. If anybody out there has any ideas for us, anything they would like to hear us talk about for the 1 year, let us know in the comments. Reach out to us.
Go over into the mailbag over on the Discord.
Yes.
Drop a line there, and maybe we'll just do like a Q&A.
Yeah.
A Q&A episode for our 1 year.
Could be fun.
Yeah. For sure.
Alrighty. Well, I think it's time to clock this one out.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about sleeper factions and history lessons in Kill Team.
Yeah.
We love that stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave a rating. We'll see you all in the next one.